الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام عليك يا صفوة الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم وقد صدقت أنت يا سيدي يا سيدي يا سيدي يا مكي يا مدني يا عربي يا قرشي يا هاشمي ويا سيدنا يا سيدنا يا سيدنا يا حبيبنا يا طبيبنا يا حبيب المصطفى صلى الله تعالى عليه وآله وسلم. Respected elders and brothers in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're living in a day and age where many of our youngsters, many of our brothers and sisters are falling into this trap of atheism. Atheism is the notion that there is no Allah, that there is no God. Some people say that there is no God, there is no Allah, there is no creator, that this world is just a haphazard, just by chance it came. Now it's very important that everybody knows some basic arguments, basic dalail, that when you're speaking to your non-Muslim colleagues or people that you study with, that you know how to prove the existence of Allah to them. Right? One way to prove the existence of Allah, Imam al-Ghazali, the great Imam who is known as Hujjatul Islam. Hujjatul Islam means the proof of Islam. He presents an argument which is today known as the Kalam cosmological argument. The argument is that the universe, the Kaun, meaning the whole entire creation, which is the sum total of space, time and matter, all of that once had a beginning. Meaning it did not always exist. Right? It has an age, hence why the scientists say that the universe is about 16, 17 billion years old. So in other words, before that period, there was no space, there was no time, there was no matter, there was no universe. So Imam al-Ghazali then says that there are only three possibilities. In fact, these possibilities are mentioned in the Quran. Allah asks the non-believers, He says, that do you think that you came out of nothing? Do you think that you came out of nothing? Or do you think you created yourself? Right? These are the two possibilities Allah gives. The third possibility is that there is a creator. Now let's go through these possibilities. The first possibility is that the universe, everything in creation, it just came out of nothing. Right? Imagine if there was a knock on the door and we don't know who's behind the door, but we just heard the knock. And I said to you that nobody knocked the door. Would anybody believe me? The answer is no. Why? Because we know that if there's a knock on the door, there's somebody who knocked it. In the same way, if the whole universe, the whole entire universe, coming into existence, right? How can this come from nothing? Right? If you hear a sound, any sound, or any effect, always has a cause. This is known as cause and effect. So whatever comes into existence, this is why Imam Ghazali says, whatever begins to exist, whatever comes to existence from non-existence always has a sabab. Meaning this is known as wujud ba'd al-adam. Yani after non-existence, if it comes into existence, it must have a sabab. It must have a cause for its existence. In the same way, the whole entire universe, it once did not exist. So therefore, it must have had a sabab for its existence. Right? In fact, to believe that the universe came into existence out of nothing is worse than believing in magic. Why? Because when a magician, you must have seen when a magician pulls a rabbit out of a hat, right? At least the magician has got the hat, and he's got, the magician is there, right? But even when we look at that, we know it's a magic trick. Because in our head, we intuitively know that the reason this is a magic trick, that something cannot come out of nothing. That you can't just pull out a rabbit out of a hat. Right? Hence why we know it is a magic trick. But even let's say it's not a magic trick. There's still the hat there and there's still the magician there. But before the universe, you had nothing. You had no space, you had no time, no matter, no energy, no particles. You had absolutely nothing. And they are expecting us to believe that the whole universe came from nothing. Right? This is why this argument doesn't make sense. For example, look at it mathematically. What is 0 add 0 add 0? It is 0. Can 0 add 0 add 0 ever become 1? The answer is no. Right? To say that nothing created the universe is like me saying that last night I ate nothing for breakfast. Last night, or meaning yesterday morning, I ate nothing for breakfast, but it tasted very nice. What would you say to me? You'd say this is a contradiction in terms. Like you can't say you had nothing, but it also tasted very nice. Right? In the same way, you can't say there was nothing, but this nothing brought into existence the whole entire universe. Meaning, what was it about nothing? Nothing has no properties, it has no causal ability, it has no substance. How can you say that there was nothing, but this nothing was so powerful that it created the whole entire universe? This is why this argument that something can come from nothing is a stupid argument. It's very irrational. Then let's remove that option. Then Allah asked the non-believers, okay, you got another option. That you created yourself. That the universe created itself. Now let's think about this for a moment. Can anything create itself? Do you have any example of something creating itself? The answer is no. Why? Because in order for something to create itself, you would have to exist to create and not exist to be created at the same time. Let me say that again. In order for something to create itself, you would have to exist to create and not exist to be created. For example, can your mother give birth to herself? Think about that. I know this is a thought that we don't want to think about. Can your own mother give birth to herself? You would say this is an irrational explanation. Why? Because in order for your mother to give birth to herself, she would have to have existed to give birth and not exist to be born at the same time. Right? In the same way, in order for someone to say that the universe created itself, it would have to have existed to create and not exist to be created. This is a contradiction. The universe could not have created itself. To say the universe created itself is like saying, can your mother give birth to herself? Right? This is an impossibility. So that removes that option. So the first option was that the universe came from nothing. Right? We removed that option. The second option was that the universe created itself. We also removed the option. Then the only other option is that the universe had a sabab, has a cause, has a creator. Now the question is, if the universe has a creator, a sabab, right? Because we said it cannot come from nothing. It cannot have created itself. Then what is the nature of this cause? What is the nature of this sabab, this creator? The first thing is that if this creator created the whole entire universe, and what was the universe? The sum total of space, time and matter. If it created all of that, then it must be beyond it. It must be transcendent. In other words, it cannot be a part of the universe. Because if it was part of the universe, then it would also need to be created. For example, the one who created the chair, is he part of the chair? The answer is no. The one who creates something has to be outside of it, has to be beyond it. In the same way, the one that created the whole universe has to be beyond the universe. In other words, if the universe is made up of space, then Allah is beyond space. He is spaceless, meaning the creator is not bound by anything. It is not bound by space, so therefore it is unlimited. Right? If the creator created time, remember time did not exist before the Big Bang. So the one who caused that had actually caused time. So therefore, the cause of the universe has to be beyond what? Time. He has to be beyond time, meaning he is timeless. If he is timeless, then he has no beginning and he has no end. Right? Because the notion of beginning and end only makes sense within time. Beyond time, there is no beginning, there is no end. So Allah exists without beginning and without end, meaning He's Al-Qadim, He's pre-eternal, and Al-Baqa, and He will always exist. Meaning, and this is the answer to those who say, if the universe requires a creator, then who created Allah? We will say, the universe is bound by time. So because it had a beginning, it requires a creator. Why? Because something cannot go from non-existence to existence without a cause. But if the creator is beyond time, therefore He does not have a beginning. Meaning Allah always existed. So if Allah always existed, He does not need a creator. Remember, we do not say that everything needs a creator. Remember, when we're talking to non-Muslims or atheists who don't believe in Allah, we should never say that everything needs a creator, because they are then going to ask you who created Allah. Right? But what is our claim? What is Imam Ghazali? How did he formulate his argument? He said, not everything that exists needs a creator, but rather everything that comes into existence needs a creator. Meaning, everything that went from non-existence to existence, there was this taghayyur, this change. Everything that had this change, it's like a scale. If a scale was equal, so you have the scale of existence and you have the scale of non-existence. It could be possibly both of them. If one scale tips, you need a cause for that. Right? In the same way, the reason why Allah does not need a creator, because Allah did not go from non-existence to existence. Remember this. We do not believe that Allah did not once exist and then He came into existence, but rather Allah always existed. Allah is Al-Qadim and Al-Baqa. But because the universe, it had a beginning. It had a beginning to existence, hence why it needs a creator. Right? So that was the first thing was, the creator must be spaceless and unlimited. The second, it must be timeless, without beginning, without end. And the third is, if that the creator created the whole of the natural world, then it must be supernatural. Right? If the creator created the whole material world, it must be immaterial. So therefore the cause of the universe has to be supernatural and has to be immaterial, meaning everything that we see around us, it is natural. It is material. The creator of the universe has to be beyond us. So therefore, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, there is absolutely nothing like Him. Right? He is spaceless, timeless, immaterial, without beginning, without end, and there is absolutely nothing like Him. And what else? If the creator created the universe, He must also be powerful. Right? Because the creator didn't create a tennis ball. He didn't create a grain of sand. He created the entire universe. So the one who created the entire universe must also be incredibly powerful. Right? And another attribute of this cause is that it must also be intelligent. Why? Because in the universe we have laws. We have the law of gravity. We have the different constants within the universe. And the physicists say that the constants within the universe, in order for life to have existed, they are so precise that imagine if you had a dart and you need to hit the bullseye, but the bullseye is like a small proton, small electron. And imagine the whole universe is your dartboard. Imagine the whole universe is your dartboard, and with this dart, you have to hit this proton. Right? If you miss, then the whole universe would have collapsed. Right? This is how precise the universal constants are in the universe. Meaning the expansion rate, the gravitational constant are so precise that even if they were a millimeter to the left, to the right, the whole universe would have collapsed. Right? So this is the precision in the universe. Now, when we have laws in the universe, a law implies a lawgiver. A law implies a lawgiver, and a lawgiver implies an intelligence. Right? Another example of this, some people say that we have just evolved, the process of evolution. Right? But in order for biological evolution to take place, you need genetic mutation. And where does genetic mutation come from? From the DNA. Right? Those who are scientifically minded, they will know about the DNA. The DNA is genetic information. Scientists like, the famous David Attenborough, who does those documentaries, he will tell you that just in one cell, you know how much information there is? Meaning that in one cell there is more information than the whole Encyclopedia Britannica. If you were to get the whole Encyclopedia Britannica, fill up the libraries, there is more information in one cell of your body to fill up the whole Encyclopedia Britannica. Meaning, what is the DNA? It codes. It codes for your eyes. It codes for your ears. Why do we all look different? Because you all have different genetic information, right? And this genetic code, it works like information, right? But what is the source of information? Imagine we were walking on the beach, and on the beach we saw some ripples in the sand. Now, when we see some ripples in the sand, we would naturally conclude that this was as a result of natural causes, meaning the wind and the sea, right? But then if we walked a little further, and we saw written on there that Irfaan was here, and he had a good time. It was written in the sand that Irfaan was here and he had a good time. Would you make the same conclusion you made with the ripple of sand? That this was a result of just natural causes? That it was the sea, it was the wind, it was the sun? The answer is no. Why? What is the difference between the two? The ripple of sand is complex, but the information is known as specified complexity. We know that wherever we see information, that this cannot come by chance. This cannot come by just natural causes. Wherever we see information, we know that it has come from an intelligence. Right? In the same way, if you see in the clouds, with those aeroplanes that do those things with the clouds and they put messages in the clouds, we don't say that was cloud formation. We know that was deliberate intent. There was an intelligence behind who done that. In the same way, when we've got millions of information within our cell, and this is just one cell, and we are made up of millions and millions of cells. We are an embodiment of information. So if the only source of information is intelligence, then the source of all of human existence, the source of all of life has to be an intelligence. So look what we have just concluded. We have concluded that the cause of the universe must be beyond space, time, matter, must be unlimited, without beginning, without end. It must be immaterial, it must be incredibly powerful, and it must be supremely intelligent. And this is what we say, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, say that He is Allah, the one and only. Right? Say. Why? Because a spaceless, timeless, immaterial being can only be one. You cannot have two spaceless beings. Why? Because in order to have the notion of two, there has to be space between you. For example, my fingers, if there was no space between them at all, it would be one finger. Right? The moment we say there's two, there has to be space between them. If the Creator is spaceless, you cannot have two spaceless beings. Because in order for there to be two, there must have been some space between them. Right? So therefore, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, say that He is Allah, one and only. Allahus Samad, say that He is Allah, the Absolute. He is independent, meaning the whole universe depends upon Him, while He depends upon none. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He did not give birth, nor did anyone give birth to Him, meaning He has no beginning and He has no end. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, and there is absolutely nothing like Him. وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ.